There is, however, a big phase of preconditioning, a system that Benny Hinn has perfected of what happens and what takes place even hours before someone would get up on stage. There's a lot of variables in play that would even you could almost equate with a group think or undue influence or even a form of hypnosis, everything from what happens as far as the choices of the music, where people are positioned. Talk about what's the preconditioning that happens in the Benny Hinn crusade, because you've been there in the lion's den and seen this happen, as far as get everyone in that emotional state of mind to be prepared if they end up being part of the lucky chosen, per se, to go up on stage with Benny. Talk about that. Yeah, first of all, I would say it goes back years and years and years and years, events. So to put this in maybe perspective for people, I'm in the doctoral program at Master Seminary, and Dr. Steve Lawson said recently, somebody always asks him, there's inevitably young guys always say, like, how long did it take you to prep that sermon? How long did it take you to prep that sermon? And he always says, my whole life. And he says it takes a whole Bible and a whole Bible to make a Christian, whole life to make a preacher. And so everything that comes out of him is the result of years of study and deposit. I use that illustration because I want people to understand this. This didn't happen overnight. This is years of conditioning. You go back to the 70s and 80s, but let's just use Mike's timeline of early 90s. He has been conditioning people with each event, every TV program, every video. It builds on itself. It's like compound interest. Like the picture of that is so vivid for people. He just keeps making deposits and it builds. So what do I mean by that? I mean that they watch the TV program and they saw how people act and they saw the results, and then they think, wow, I need that. I need a healing. I need to go. They're already conditioned to be desperate for whatever that thing is. Sure, there'll be some skeptics, but overall, they've got people constantly being conditioned by the content and the material leading up to it, the TV program. But then go there to the meeting. There's an anticipation. There's a line of people. They love. I used to, be around if I was driving with my uncle or flying in. We'd have the entourage of like Suburbans coming out of the hotel, basically like if you were, the Rolling Stones going to the concert and we'd literally call it the venue, and we're coming down and he would get reports, and they'd be like, they call him Doc, and they'd be like, Doc, they're saying the line's just down the street. I mean, there's literally, 10,000 people waiting, and he would be like, oh, but it's going to be a good night. Like the hype and the anticipation outside was prepped. The volunteers were prepped. The choir was prepped. The whole thing is built like a production. When you get in the building, even that, the experience, the video, the announcements. I mean, I don't know. Did either one of you ever go to a crusade? No?
No, Benny Hinn crusade? No, I've just seen them on TV.
You guys, from start to finish, it is an event. Yeah. Like the hype, it's full. It's packed. It's not like they had to block off some sections like some of those concerts or different things where they can't fill a stadium. American Airlines Arena, United Center in Chicago, Air Canada Center, now Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, like just name Joe Louis Arena, where the Red Wings used to play in Detroit, like all of these places, just name every hockey or basketball arena in the nation. He packed the entire thing all the way around, and the choir is in there, and that thing starts, and there is just a buzz. Now, what happens is very specific and very timed and very scheduled and orchestrated, leading up to the moment where, and I mean, if you want to B-roll this, you totally can, but they sing How Great Thou Art. After a string of just performances, singing, the choir, guest singers, which, by the way, he got that from Catherine Coleman. Catherine Coleman used to have, you can look at her last crusade in the 70s in Vegas. She has this famous singer sing. She has the Catholic priest come up. There's sort of this whole like song and dance event kind of vibe. And then we start singing How Great Thou Art. And why I say conditioning started a long time before is because people all know he comes out to How Great Thou Art. Now, they sing it normally first, but he's in the back, and he's got the white suit, the jacket's on, the whole deal. And they lift up a key, they go up a key. The lighting changes. This is why I wish you guys could have been to one of these. The lighting changes. It gets bright on that spot. And Jim Senero, who's his choir director, Jim turns to the whole audience. He's been conducting the choir this entire time on a giant riser deal. He turns to the crowd with his handheld mic, and he says, and you can use,
Then sings my soul, the Savior out to thee. Sing it with, then sings my soul. He does this whole thing. Everyone's standing. That's what he would do. Everyone's standing. Sing with us. How great thou art, thy Savior. He does this whole thing, and everybody stands. The whole band, the whole piano. Cheryl Palmquist, who's the piano player, and Bruce, Cheryl, the organ player. Bruce is the piano player. Like, I know all these people. That's why you'll hear my uncle say, lift it, Cheryl, lift it. Someone's like, who in the world is Cheryl? The organ player. Bruce on the keys. That's Bruce Hughes on the keys. And they're all doing, Jim Senero, the choir director, tells everyone to stand. The spotlight hits, and it goes up. The key goes up, and you've got How Great Thou Art at the next highest key, and Uncle Benny comes out, and they go, then sings my soul, and he comes out, and everyone starts freaking out and clapping, and he comes out, and he stands, and he goes, Jesus, and his microphone's not on, okay? But I want you to picture, and I know people are going to laugh and think, what? It is. How wrestlers come out, and they go up on the turnbuckles, you know, like The Rock, or you remember like Stone Cold Steve Austin or whatever. And they come out and they're yelling and saying stuff, but you can't hear them. And they're like, you know, on each one. My uncle comes out and he stands at the pulpit, and the whole place is ripping now, and everyone's singing their loudest. And Benny's here, and he's saying, Jesus, we give you praise. He's doing all these big prayers he's doing. And then the whole thing sort of lands. And he says, now it's on the organ, they're playing the bells, you know, and Mike, you've heard all this, and the strings, and he says, Jesus, we vow to give you all the honor, all the glory, and all the praise. And sorry, you're getting
the irony of that.
Yeah, totally. And that, I mean, that's theatrical. Like, it just took you there. Mm-hmm. And then he has them sit. He preaches for a while. He goes gospel, and then once the whole thing shifts after the altar call, and he begins to say, even now, healings are beginning to happen. And they start playing this specific song, and it gets very serious, and minor keys and the whole bit. And he says, and I just want to praise you. And he'll sing some song. You're like, what? And he's singing, and then he sings for a while, and then and he goes, he's here. He's here. He's going to touch you. Shh. Hallelujah. Sing it, choir. And then the bells hit. And hallelujah. He's a healer. He's here to heal you tonight. Whatever your problem, Jesus. And you're just like, wow. And he begins to just he's taking you there, and he's like, hallelujah, and you're all this stuff, and he's like, Jesus, we give you praise. Just put your hand on the place where you have pain. Jesus, heal your, and you're just like, what? So he's priming them. And then he's already told them, you're going to feel fire. And so then people are being told, this is, hypnotists do this, showmen do this. He's telling them, it's the power of suggestion, what's going to happen to them, what they're going to feel. And you've got people in that moment primed and desperate, crying, sitting. This is where Mike gets upset. They're holding the child in their arms or by the hand, and they're weeping. Just please, please heal my baby. Please, this is my last chance. A mother is there saying, I just want a baby. I'm barren. I can't have a child. We've given everything. We gave in the offering. We have believed. Now we're here. We waited for 4 hours in line. This is their moment. And the singing is powerful. The music sounds amazing. The guy is saying all the right things, and you're ready. And so all of that leads to the moment where he says, and you're waiting for this because you just want to get up there, is if you are sick in body, if the Lord has healed you, begin lining up on my right and my left, and now we're in the next phase of the show. My dad ran one of the healing lines, and then a woman named Joan Geeson, she led a healing line, or Steve Brock, different guys, but key people, and they're going to vet everyone who comes. So you have lines starting to form, and now we're into the next phase of the show where we're sort of out of the emotional, hyper, preparation, and now we're into, I don't know what you would call it, but it's the ultimate manipulation. It's the quote-unquote celebration of all that God's doing with that showmanship we talked about. A little touch here, a little adjustment here. If somebody doesn't quite look like they have it, or we got a child on stage who won't respond, well, we look very noble when we say, oh, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And he hasn't forgot about you, Mom. And he'll touch the mom and pray for the mother. And she cries. She goes, it's the prayers of a mother has healed the child. The Lord hears her. Henry, what's happening over here? And he just moves right to the next guy in the healing line. And so all of this orchestrated to create an amazing experience, a sinful, evil one, but an amazing one for people. And I just took you from outside waiting in line all the way through. If you weren't there for a healing, you're definitely saying, wow, I just feel so good. Every time I just love Pastor Benny Hinn. If you were there for a healing and you got sucked into the euphoria of it all, or you felt like God touched you, you're kind of still like on for the ride. And then if you went through some sort of psychosomatic thing where the adrenaline rush hit you and you actually feel better, you're like really in it. And then if you go away disappointed, you're told, keep on believing. Now, here's what I want to say, and then turn it over to you guys. There are people at the doors and there are people in the healing lines specifically with lines that they say to people. Like, if you didn't get healed, go keep on believing. You know we serve a healing Jesus. Keep on believing. He and my uncle will say sometimes, some of you tonight, if the Lord didn't heal you tonight, I believe he's going to heal you tomorrow night. And so you have the ability to get people to come back. It's a Thursday night, Friday morning, Friday night. That's the crusades. So you have people continuing to come back so you can keep on the hook. And you have other people that you say, if you didn't get healed, stay away from negative people. The Lord is going to heal some of you next week. He spoke to me and told me, some of you, your healing is going to be to come. And the seeds you sow tonight are going to reap a harvest of healing in 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. You keep believing. So what I've done right now is set you up for whatever category you're in. I got you. And I've got you on the hook, and I've got you scared to speak against anything. If that kind of makes sense of how that whole thing is just, you're disgusted right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, not only that, he's implanted a siege mentality where any sort of criticism, a concerned relative is going to be, that's a negative person. I can't talk to them. Yeah. Because I need my healing.
Totally. That's cult control. It's the Scientologist, a suppressive person.
It's Steve Hassan's bite model. You have behavior control, information control, thought control, emotion control. That's the bite model right there. Mike, Andrew, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Or commentary with everything that Costi said. I mean, this is like an expanded version of like everything you're talking about in your video. What are your guys'
I think it's brilliant. It's so clever. Imagine if you could just be a psychopath for a moment and not care about people or God or truth. You would design the Benny Hinn healing service.
Yes.
If that was your agenda, was to create a fake that you'd be like, yeah, this is, and what will we do with this? Let me just come up with, now if I just don't care about people, what can I tell them? What can I say to them that will help us accomplish our goals? The healing lines to me function, there's the front of the line and the back of the line. And as it's described, it functions for two purposes. The front of the line is to make sure that whoever goes on stage has something they can do or say to make it look as though there's a real healing that's taking place. And then, not that it is real, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. They have to have something they can do or say. So that's why he'll tell people, come in line and show this the thing you couldn't do before that you can do now.
Yes.
So if they'll go, hey, you couldn't move your arm. Maybe they can move their arm this far, and now they can move their arm this far. Okay, they can get on stage.
Yes.
They can get on stage.
Yep.
Now adrenaline can explain that as well. And so can someone who's just, usually when you're in pain, you nurse things, but you could do more if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You just don't, because it hurts. Say you're in a wheelchair, you get out of the wheelchair, you can walk for a couple minutes, but it's going to take a toll.
Yes.
But you're excited. You think maybe God's healing you. They go, God may be healing you. Stand up. Let's get him on stage. He can stand up.
Yep.
Okay. It doesn't matter if he's healed or not. You don't ask him, were you able to do that before?
Yeah.
So the healing line in the front is to filter people who will be favorable for the stage.
Mm-hmm.
In the back of the healing line, it's for making sure that actually sick and injured and messed up people don't get on stage.
Yeah.
Right. You go to the back. You go to the back. No, you can't go to the front. We are here. The healing line functions to keep sick people from getting to Benny Hinn.
Totally.
I want you to think about this deeply for a second. Imagine Jesus going out to do miracles in Capernaum, and he sends 6 disciples on each side to control who can come to him, and he informs them with instructions that amount to, anybody who's still sick, don't let him get to me.